What up, TikTok? Hey, hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hey, don't let anything that's negative in your life dictate the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Hey, we all go through some hard times. We all go through some emotional stressors, maybe at work, maybe at home, whatever it may be. Don't let that dictate who you are and how you react to the rest of the things that life throws at you. Does that make sense? Like if you're feeling pissed off and angry all morning or all day, you're going to take that energy and you're going to present it to everybody else that surrounds you, your loved ones, your soldiers, whoever it may be. You're going to use that negative energy and it's just going to make everything worse. Try to be positive. Pick something positive in life that's going really well. Use that positive energy and let that dictate the rest of your day. We can harp on the negatives. We can harp on the bad things that are going on in life. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help us move forward. Stay strong, keep pushing, drive on. Happy Friday.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you're doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. Ready to go.
So, I'm walking out of the gas station and my co-worker, who's an old MP, but we still claim him, and has engaged the man in conversation. Not much for conversation with strangers, but he's got the tab. So, as I walk by, I say airborne, and the man responds with, and I quote, "Hoorah." So, after I instructed my co-worker to slash every single tire before he put the car in gear, I looked for the biggest rock. As I crow-hopped to throw it through his back window so he can stop posing as one of us, I actually wake up and realize that the man's ignorance had incapacitated me for a moment, and I was daydreaming. I mean, because in that moment you got two options. I chose the third option and said, "Incorrect. That's an incorrect response." And I kept walking. The man said nothing and he pulled away. So you tell me, what is it, a stolen valor thing? No Marine's gonna have an airborne tab, and no paratrooper's gonna say hidden hoorah. So you tell me, stolen valor?
Hey, y'all, I'm going to work. I left you a note on the refrigerator. I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Hey, go get dressed. Get ready for school.
You're doing great. I was tooling around, tooling along. Shit! Bad guy! Stop!
Let me break it down Barney style.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Ventura Training and Athletics. Restore, train, maintain. Specializing in the restoration of the muscular system to help you move and feel better. Combating TBI, PTSD, and pain through specialized strength training. Again, get your body right, get your mind right. Defeat the demons.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, Joe, and Buddy. Today's special guest is Josh, a former infantry officer who tells other people's war stories.
Hey, happy Saturday, Trash Talkers. Let me start off real simple. Fuck grunt style. Okay, we said it, son. It's over with. Okay, shout out to our sponsors. All right, we got Ventura Training and Athletics. You just heard it.
Okay, go get your body right. That's the only way you're ever going to actually feel better. I mean, weed helps, but go get your body right. Then we also got Zach Farkas. We can't say Cardinal Financial anymore. He has left the mothership. He's branching off on his own. That's another big story coming. And then we also got 10th Mountain Bourbon. Okay, make sure you put in that VTT code and get yourself a discount. Get your cordial like Buddy Beckwith likes to drink. And then, of course, we have NeuroFlow. All right, NeuroFlow. We had guests on here. Go check their website out and give them some business as well. Well, Dave's not here. Okay, Dave is learning how to be a leader, and that's fine. I mean, he's a recruiter.
Adorable.
Do you really need leaders in recruiting? Maybe, but we'll let that answer itself. Today we welcome Joshua Coffman. All right, he's a storyteller. All right, so really exciting. Maybe we're gonna find out. Anyways, and of course we got Joe and Buddy. They are here. Okay, now I'm the big Earl. Okay, I did miss last week. All right, and
what were you doing last week, Nick? We heard.
I'm going to explain it. Okay,
there's some rumors.
So I did join a country club with my Biden Bucks, and it's a really nice country club. So I also got to say goodbye. All right, to a going away party with Command Sergeant Major, now promoted, Bach. And he, it was his going away party, and he was a quasi mentor of mine. All right, I have to say quasi because when I'm in Big Earl mode, I know everything. So it's really hard to mentor somebody who knows everything. But he's a phenomenal human being. But we have to give him our prayers, and our thoughts have to go with him because he had an illustrious 16-year career in Ranger Regiment, and the wheels are falling off. Okay. He had to go work at Tradoc. All right. And now he has to go PCS to a fake airborne unit. All right. He has to go to the 101. All right. It's just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He's just not ready for that. All right. But
they're not a fake airborne unit. They're not an airborne unit.
They're not an airborne unit.
They don't even act like they are at this point.
So hang on to that first 16 years, Sergeant Major, because the rest of it's shit. Okay, so keep them in your prayers, guys. And then before I give it over to Joe, I gotta talk about something. All right, so I got triggered this week. All right, I was getting triggered by an average person. All right, and so I had to reflect back to my own book. All right, the Book of Earl. Where once you figure out you're talking to an average person, right? You just push them away, right? They suck. Okay, average people suck, and it's okay to be average. But if you want to be better than average, you can't surround yourself with them, right? You just can't. And we always talk about it, though. You should surround yourself with people that lift you up. All right. Now, the only time you should really insult somebody is when you're pushing them to be better. Like when Joe says, I don't have the time. I'm working too much. Right. I say, I don't give a fuck, Joe. All right. Do more. Okay. So yeah, I'm kind of being an asshole, but I'm pushing him to be better. Okay. Or like when Perry says, I don't got the time. Well, you make the fucking time. All right. So again, if I do something great and I'm doing something and I have something better than you, okay, just be happy for me. That's all I'm saying. Just be happy for me. Anyways, Dave, that's how you intro the show, just in case you were wondering. So make sure you take some notes. And again, if you're going to talk trash about a battle buddy of yours, it shouldn't be out of jealousy. And I'm not going to mention any names, but some of you want to be me, and that's okay. But stop being average. Okay. So Joe, over to you.
Whew. I couldn't get over with quick enough. Anyways, Nick always asks me what got me triggered this week. And besides, Nick ushering me to make a 26th hour in my day, I'll tell you what triggered me. It was Tuesday morning, buddy. I'll paint the scene for you because I want you to hear this one. Because you might be looking down the barrel of the civilian world real soon. So this does happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
So I'm getting on the freeway, right? And there's two lanes. I'm in the left. I got to get over to the right. Well, this work van's flying up in the right. So I do what a working man would. All right, he's got to get to work. I slow down to let him over. The kid stays in my blind spot. So I'm like, hey, moron, I'm trying to let you over. Go. Well, my intersection's coming. So I speed up and get in front of him. And this 19-year-old twerp takes that as a sign that I cut him off and his sign to show me what a big man he was. So I'm on the phone with my wife and I'm like, this fucking kid's pushing me down the freeway, trying to get on the exit ramp. I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't have time for it. I'm still maintaining. And all of a sudden I get on the freeway. I'm like, I'm getting all the way over the fast lane. This kid can go, whatever. And he gets over with me, except in the next lane over so he can ride up. Could I have driven off and gotten away? Yeah, but I thought I'd slow down. Because by this point I was a little annoyed. And I was like, you know what? I want to see what he has to say. Why so aggro, kid? You might not like the reaction, but let's talk. So he pulls up alongside of me. He's got the window down. And I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase here, but I believe what it was said was, I said, young man, you don't have enough ass to make the mistake you're about to make. I'll fucking eat you. I'll eat 2 of you in 2 minutes. You ain't going to be able to do anything about it. Just drive on. This is where the story gets interesting. The kid, then quivering because somebody challenged him, like any other coward that has one, pulls a fully loaded pistol and points it into my car. If my window was up, he would have been able to hit it with the fucking pistol. At this point, then I grip my teeth and I'm like, motherfucker,
I'm going to kill you.
I'm like, you're fucking dead, man.
Yeah.
I was like, pull over right now and bring the gun with you.
Yeah, turn it off.
I'm gonna. Does he
Buddy,
know?
stop yelling at your kids.
Yeah, don't quit beating your kids. Anyways,
That's the second time today.
So the kid pulls the pistol and points it at me, and I'm like, all right. Then I get really mad. I leave the planet. I'm not even gonna go where I was at because it was aggressive. There was threats made. So once that was said, and this is how they raise them down south, buddy. You ready for this? The kid puts the pistol down because he realizes I'm going to the grass with you right now, and you're gonna have to make a decision. And he decides he doesn't want that. Drives by me in a work truck with a fucking phone number 3 feet tall on it. I'm like, oh, kid, you're fucking history.
Please,
so
God, tell me you called that
I did
number.
what a civilian would do instead of a paratrooper for the first time. And I called the number and I said, I'm not going to get aggressive because you're not the one that did this, but I need the owner, and you need to tell him that unless there's an emergency with his family, this is the most important business call he'll make in his life, because I will shut you down if I don't hear from you by 12 p.m. The owner was on the phone with me 30 seconds later. And I said, you got 2 options. I said, you can have that kid meet me at the yard and we'll go around the corner for 10 minutes. He ain't going to work again, but that's about the end of it. Or you can get him off the road because he's going to burn your business to the ground. If I am who I say I am, I'm for American entrepreneurship. I'm for the mom and pops going out and trying to make their own money. I don't want to ruin this guy's life. He didn't do it. But I was like, bro, you better pull this kid off the road, because this kid's such a fucking coward that just one simple ass chewing, who's to say he doesn't pull the pistol on your ass next? How many kids do you have? And so what I'm telling you is, buddy, when you go out there, you're going to run into some of this shit. You're going to run into kids that it's like, dude, all I want to do for self-gratification is twist your neck around and have it pointing backwards. But that's a very expensive point to prove once you leave and go into the civilian world. So that being said, Kevin Travers, you're right. That's growth, because 10 years ago, I'd have caught a murder charge. But, you know, you got to weigh the prices of the decisions you make. And if some 19-year-old male feminist with a sunken chest that I could eat a bowl of Captain Crunch out of is laying on the road at my fucking feet, and they look at my history, they're going to be like, hey, you ever seen Con Air? Yeah, you're going up for life. You know, that's what happens. So anyways, always keep your head, because letting this kid know what I was capable of would have cost me the rest of my life. So anyways, that was my story for the week. And yes, Nick, it got me triggered.
To be fair, Joe,
I'm gonna pass it back to you, buddy.
Yeah. To be fair though, it's not just in the civilian world. The Army world has gotten the same way, to the point that like I was saying pre-show, I got into a verbal altercation with another E9 or E8 in the United States Army, a man. And at one point, like, it was like we were going at it. We were both being fairly unprofessional, and I told him that I told him what normally we would say, like, suck my dick, dude. I don't give a shit. And I got a call from a sergeant major saying that they would charge me with sexual harassment. I was like, doesn't really mean I don't want to suck my dick, right? Like I'm not down with that, but whatever.
Yeah, it's more of a kiss. It's more of a kiss
everywhere.
my ass than an actual proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, I got you.
It's literally inundated our society, and at some
This
point,
kid pulled a loaded weapon on me because I didn't back off.
Hey, at least
buddy, I'm
you had a
telling you,
kid. At least he had a loaded weapon.
This kid's neck looked like a fucking orange sitting on a toothpick. It wouldn't even have
Yeah.
been, I wouldn't even have told you guys about the size of this kid. I would have had to. It'd be like one of those fishing stories. I would have had to lie about the size if I laid hands on him. I would have been embarrassed when it was over. It wouldn't have been long.
At least he had an actual gun. I had a kid at one point act like he was going to grab something. Like he acted like it was a gun, but he did not have a gun. And I was like, come on, dude, this is the wrong town. And nobody in this town gives a fuck about your gun. They will literally take it from you and beat you to death with your own shit. You're in the and that was
Well, I let him know, put that back down. You don't have the balls to use that. Put that back down. And I also told him, hey, guess what? This is a menace to society, and the fucking sights are on the top, you idiot.
You know what's super funny? You know what's super funny is that civilians pull a gun on people and they think that there's going to be a reaction. And for other civilians, there probably is a reaction like, oh shit. They pull a gun on like a veteran that's had guns pulled on him. And the reaction is completely opposite. It's like, oh, you got a gun? That's supposed to be fucking scary, bitch? Let's do this.
I just rubbed a layer of enamel off my teeth when he did it. Yeah. I just gritted my teeth together a little harder, like, you stupid bastard. Now we're going to pull over and you're going to die instead of getting an
Put your dick beaters up. Let's dance.
You want to do the man dance? First dance is yours.
I'll fill this whole damn street full of uppercut. I don't give a shit. Anywho, so on the mic. So
hey, I know Perry's watching. Hey, that's a shirt right there. We need to make that a shirt. I'll fill the street full of uppercuts.
So my honesty cap is usually something that has something to do with the veteran community. This week, not so much. Kind of does in a way. Maybe some mentorship. I've been noticing that there are a lot of younger fellas that apparently have a bunch of Biden bucks also. Instead of going to country clubs, Nick, they are jacking up their truck, but only part of it, like the front end. The North Carolina look, I think it's called. It's actually like the Baja look, because if you jump in Baja, it makes your truck land correctly thing. But they're jacking up $50,000 Silverados just in the front and driving around. And I don't get it. Looks like I have kids. It looks like your truck has a dirty diaper. It looks like it's got a shitty diaper driving down the road. Friends should not let friends jack just it like you got like your jack you got your fucking lift kit on layaway. That's what it looks like. Like it's driving up. It either looks like your truck has a shitty diaper, or like, you know, when you have to poop and it hits you all at one time and you get that frog ass where like your butt cheeks are trying to clench your butthole shut so it doesn't like turtle head out and you shit your pants and you're trying to get to the shitter. You can't run, because if you run, the gravity and the bouncing is going to knock that out. So you got to walk. You got to do that clench walk. That's what your truck looks like. Stop fucking jacking the front of your truck up, you fucking idiots. It looks dumb, and you're not going to jump it ever. Stop.
It's a stress-filled sprint walk.
Oh my God, it's the worst, because your butthole gets the muscle failure where it's just like doing the thing where it's like, oh, I really got to let it go.
It can't hold on any longer.
No, where you pull your pants down as you're sitting down, and it's a total bowel evacuation.
It's like Jeff. It's Dumb and Dumber, Jeff Daniels.
Yeah. Except for like it's all at once. Everything wants to come out. Anywho, that's my honesty cap of the day.
Nice. That was very, very well done, buddy. And like I said in the script, if you read it, Joe and buddy,
part of it. I read part of it.
Pay attention to
up to the part that we are right now.
I see where my name's at, and then I stop.
Pay attention to where I shut the fuck up when you guys were talking. All right. So the next time, Joe, you get your feelings hurt because you interrupt the guest. Okay. I'm going to be like, shut the fuck up, Joe. All right. Just stop talking.
I'm gonna lend as much credence to it as I usually do also. So Rock on.
No,
I will too.
So, buddy, what you're saying is we don't want to call it the North Carolina look. We want to call it the turtle head look.
I think that we call it the dirty diaper look. It
The
looks
dirty
like
diaper
a kid.
look.
It looks like a kid with a shitty diaper driving down the road. Like if it was Cars, like the movie Pixar Cars, it would literally be like Mater, but as a child with a shitty diaper. Driving down the road, like, my butthole got a shit hole in it. It's what it looks like. It's the fucking worst. It's gonna take off.
Kenneth Stratton says it's called the Grippers. So apparently he knows all about this. Hey, Kenneth, if you will, in the comments, please explain. Please argue with Buddy in the comments. It's called the Grippers. All right. So please argue with Buddy in the comments of why we should do it. All right. Because that would be funny. Okay. So let's see if we can get an argument to Buddy's don't do the dirty diaper with your truck. Okay, don't do it.
Does the shitty diaper look give you more traction? Because it's a pickup truck. It ain't got it in the back. Wait, and tread give traction. Drop in the bottom, don't give it shit. Angles don't work.
Before I introduce our guest of honor, I did forget to give a big shout out to Kevin Travers, who put that video together. I also want to give the waiting screen. So I appreciate all you guys on Gruntworks and YouTube sticking around to watch the show. Again, we are Veteran Trash Talk. Gruntworks has done a tremendous job of streaming us on their platform. And so support veteran-owned companies. All right, go shop Gruntworks. All right, shop veterantrashtalk.com. Do all that. That's why I said fuck Grunt Style. They're not even owned by veterans anymore, so screw them. And so let's knock them off the top and let's put another veteran-owned company on the top. That's what we should do as veterans. With that being said, another big shout out to Andrew. Andrew does our songs, so we haven't given him thanks. And we'll give a big thanks to our fake Asian in the back. He's listening right now. He's doing all the producing. And again, he's a fake Asian because he's not Asian, but he's as smart as one when it comes to technology. So we call him the fake Asian. Well, this is interesting. I saw something on the Book of Faces, a few months ago, and it was from an old former Marine, current Army officer, Joel Noland. All right. He posted something about something super cool. This guy, Joshua Coffman, doing Bourbon and Battles. And I was like, let me message this guy. So I messaged this Joshua Coffman guy, and it turns out he's a failed infantry officer that thought he was so much better that he would get out and save the world that way. Again, we make fun of you in the song. So instead of, being an accomplished infantry officer, he decided to tell other people's war stories. And
don't be average, man.
Yeah, don't be average. So I'm talking shit to push you forward. Okay, so I appreciate it. I don't want to see you go down. I want to see you go forward. I want to see you blow up. I want to see you to be the best podcaster on the planet. That being said, he is going to give us a special Bourbon and Battles today. He's going to use our platform, and hopefully all of you watching go subscribe to his platform because this is going to be awesome. Joshua Coffman, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour, and thank you for your service, sir. And then let's hear what you got.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for the intro. Thank you for all the stories. I don't know how I can follow all those possible criminal actions with the story I have, but I will do my best. I would like to first start out by talking about bourbon and how I kind of got started in it. So the Army saw in its great wisdom to start me out at the greatest division in the history of the world, the 101st Airborne Division.
It's weird. It came across as the 101st. You missed it by a bunch of numbers. It's lower than 82nd. There it is. It's that one. The greatest division. Maybe in 1940. Not even then. Not even then.
Google. Yeah.
Google said you're wrong.
My back was stiff. That was just time.
Remember, there's words to live by. There's only one unit. There's only one regiment, and there's only one division. All right, so keep going. Sorry, Josh, we had to cut you off because we just can't allow that kind of heresy. All right, just can't do it. So sorry.
That's okay. So anyway, at this first duty station, which is right on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. I got super into bourbon, went to all the distilleries there, and fell in love with it. So fast forward a few years, and I was getting ready to get out of the Army, and I found myself still missing talking about the Army, talking about history, talking about strategy, tactics, things like that. And I kind of came up with this idea for Bourbon and Battles, where I would review whiskeys, American whiskeys, bourbon and rye, and do a battle in American history. Bourbon is a uniquely American product. It has to be made in America to be called a bourbon. And I thought I would stick with that and make it uniquely about American battles in our history. So this was one of the first battles that caught my eye and really was like, how do I not know about this? I'm a history nerd. I've never heard of this before. People need to hear this. And please feel free to interrupt, questions, do your thing. I'll try not to insult the 82nd anymore and bring upon your wrath. I'll try not to do that. But this first battle, it's called the Battle of Wabash. And there's a great book called A Victory with No Name by Colin Calloway that I did to research this topic. He has a line in there and he says, quote, "Nations build their histories and shape their identities by telling some stories from their past and forgetting others." And this is absolutely one of those stories that we have forgotten as a people. So just a little bit of background. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. You get the big three that kind of divide up America, right? You get Spain, they take up all the Caribbean, all those nice vacation resorts, they take up Florida. You get the French that take up Louisiana all the way up to Canada, and you get the British or English colonists that settle along what becomes the 13 colonies, right? And they kind of just divide up the new world. So the French will really become close with a lot of these Indian tribes. And I say Indian here, I've had people stop and ask me questions and try to correct me because there seems to be some wonder of what's the proper name to call the indigenous peoples of America. I don't want to offend anyone here or trigger anybody. The proper term is American Indian, unless you're exactly. Proper term is American Indian. Some prefer Native American, but American Indian is proper term, unless you can delineate a specific tribe, right? Like the Miami or the Shawnee. So please, no one get triggered by this. But
good football team, Miami.
Yeah, that one.
Hey, sir, just a word of wisdom. You can stop being, you don't have to be an officer, so you don't have to go through the whole, like,
yeah,
just say what
you can trigger anybody you want here.
Yeah, it's fine.
I know I need to get out of the officerdom. I'm in the I'm hanging out with the enlisted folk, right? All of you were enlisted.
Yeah, a swine. Yes.
Yeah. You were my favorite swine. I was the most self-hating officer. Mostly because people like Joe Nolan, who resented me for things like my looks and my height.
Yeah, Joe does. Funny, maybe it's just the name Joe, because Joe on our show doesn't like tall people either, because they beat him in combatives.
Fake news, I'm sure, Joe.
Honestly, Josh, I don't like that tall person because he hasn't changed the record in 20 fucking years. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Undefeated. I haven't changed.
I mean, I've seen you tap quicker than a woodpecker. You just beat me that one time because I separated my shoulder. But Nick tapped.
I was tired.
Yeah, if tapping was cash, Nick would be an ATM. Trust me, I've seen it happen. It was quick.
Being tired is a good excuse sometimes. So I dig that. Yeah, so I think we've all heard of the French and Indian War, right? In Europe, it's called the 7 Years' War. It breaks out. It's what people don't realize is how much of a world war it was. So it was all over the world. It was in India. There's fighting in Europe, fighting in South America. It's kind of crazy. But here in America, it's the French and Indian War. And the French will ally themselves with a lot of these Indian tribes that are in kind of like the middle of America. And they really love the French. The French come in there. They don't do a lot of settling. They don't try to take a lot of land. They do a lot of trading with these Indian nations. They make them rich by their standards. They upgrade. These people now have home goods. They have muskets now, and they really make them rich. So a lot of these Indians will fight with the French, and side against the British and the colonials, right? So at the end of the war, comes to find out, the British win, at least in North America they do, and they're given all of eastern Louisiana. So now they gain everything east of the Mississippi River, in between the Mississippi and the Appalachian Mountains there, right? All these states that are like Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, that's what they win. Now the British, they have to figure out how to use this new land, and they have to figure out on how they're going to, what's going to be the law of the land. So they issue a proclamation from the king. It's called the Proclamation of 1763. And they essentially say in it that none of the colonists can move into this land. This land is Indian land. It's going to be an Indian preserve, which piss off a lot of the colonists. It's one of the first like kind of schisms between the people who were Americans and the British, right? Because they had been fighting for the British crown on the promise of land. A lot of times these guys weren't paid. They're just like, hey, if you fight for us, like we're going to give you some land out west, right? So that's the first thing that really starts to make the people who have become Americans mad. Now, when the revolution breaks out, the Indians, again, they find themselves in the middle of this, and they have to pick sides, right? And after watching the majority of who are Americans encroach upon their land, they get super pissed off and they decide, hey, we're going to side with the British. Most of them do. We all know how that war turns out. We now have beautiful red, white, and blue American flags. We beat the British somehow. We beat the evil empire, and we win, right? So 1783, Treaty of Paris goes down. We send an all-star team. We send Ben Franklin, John Jay, Henry Lawrence, and John Adams over there to conduct this treaty. And the French, who are allies, say, hey, now you get to have the 13 colonies. You just get to live here, because they really don't want us encroaching upon the West either. And we look at the British, and the British look at us, and we're just like, yeah, I want to go talk in the back without these French guys. And we do, we sneak away, and the British are like, hey, like, what if we just like give you all this land here? Because there's a lot of French settlers in this land. They don't want the French to ever come back and take it. They would rather give it to us. The British aren't going to settle it anyway. Let the Americans figure out this Indian problem. We just want to trade with you guys, and we want to like kind of make you friends with us again. So they kind of squeeze the French out, and the U.S. will now get everything that's essentially called Eastern Louisiana. Everything east of the Mississippi River is now U.S. land, except for Florida, right? Because Florida is still controlled by the Spanish, and they're still down there doing their beach resort thing. So we win the war, and everything's supposed to be great, right? But we are being governed under the Articles of Confederation, which is what the law of the land was before the Constitution. And guys, it's just a piece of shit. Like it's horrible. It's very weak. Essentially, all these states are like their own countries. Like they all have their own currencies. The government has no right to tax at all. To raise money, which some of you probably like. I'm seeing out here.
You're gonna get the Alabama boy. You're gonna get the Alabama boy all fired up right now.
Articles of Confederation. Look, I'll Google the shit out of that.
Oh man, we're getting people from Alabama talking about Confederation.
Yeah, Alabama's upset. You say the word Confederate, even though it has nothing to do with the Civil War, with what you're talking about. It's full on now with Buddy. Buddy's talking about reparations, dirt road, Sherman, all kinds of stuff.
There's one too many yeehaws in the crowd, Josh, from here on out, because I believe you're going to blow up. But if you get one too many yeehaws in the crowd down south, shut it down. All right, shut it down, because
he's coming
they're about to turn it into Tombstone Night at the theater. I'm telling you. Guns.
But anyway, Confederation, right? Articles of Confederation, very weak. They have to ask states for money. So they have to go to the states, basically like they're doing a fundraiser, like it's the Girl Scouts selling cookies, and ask for money. And they don't have any Thin Mints. So no one's buying anything. No one's giving them any money. it's a really bad situation. You can't have an army without being able to raise taxes. You can't do all those things that governments do to function.
Joshua,
Not without Thin Mints,
we
you
didn't
can't.
have an
Or
income
Samoas.
tax, and we had a Navy and an Army. So before you get Buddy all triggered again, we'll just and the Gruntworks Nation is probably going to get upset because they're a bunch of freedom fighters that hate any sort of organization. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I do believe that you don't come without Thin Mints, though. I mean, they got Samoas.
I think you need a tax Thin Mints, and actually a lot of that raising before the income tax was based off of taxes placed on whiskey, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, those are called what are they called? Moral taxes. Nobody makes you drink.
Yeah, exactly. But you just wake up in places like Alabama and you have to, right?
Yeah. I mean,
There should be extenuating circumstances. A certain number of kids, you should be exempt. You should be allowed to drink.
Alabama is a cradle of society, not a huge deal. It's basically the new Garden of Eden, and you guys are horrible people. You should really think about how you talk with that mouth. You kiss your mama with that? You shouldn't. Just saying.
Oh man, everyone always thinks they live in God's country, right? Oh, God bless them.
Not people in Chicago.
Yeah, except for the difference is that God has blessed us with a bunch of
people in Chicago draw the blinds at noon, Josh. They don't like it.
Boom. God gave us Nick Saban, so you know it's true.
I worry about the state of Alabama, Josh, when Saban retires. I really do worry. The state's going to crumble unless he runs for governor.
I'm not really, because he is the highest paid state employee, so he gets paid a considerably a lot more than a governor. But hey, we're at 1780. Where are we at? 1786. The Articles of Confederation.
Yeah. Exactly. We're moving right along, but we got some good things. Okay, so we're trading with everyone. We got like this strategic neutrality, and we have all this land that's now open to us. But just because it's ours doesn't mean it's really ours. Like the British, it wasn't really their land to give away because people live there. Indians live there. And now this area is under new management. And now we run into a concept that we have lost in the West. Like we don't really understand it. And it's the idea of a people living within your borders, or what's supposed to be your borders, who are ethnically distinct, have a different culture, and on top of that, they have the ability to make war. The closest thing nowadays that I can think of is like the Kurds in North Iraq and Turkey, like a people who are hard as shit, who maybe can't break away to form their own nation, but like you really can't come in there and mess with them. They'll mess you up. So that's really what these Indian tribes were like. They were very strong. And by the mid 1780s, the U.S. is already in like a low level kind of like coin operation with these Indians in this area. The settlers have started moving into Kentucky and really just filling that state. And the Indians are not a fan of it. And they start pushing across the river, the Ohio River, into what's now Ohio and Indiana. And that's where the Indians draw the line. And there starts to be these low-level raids. And these Indians get together and they say, hey, we're going to form a coalition. No one's going to sell to the Americans, but they really can't enforce it. Indians are really, it's the truest form of freedom in some of these tribes at this time, because there are chiefs, yes, there are leaders that are respected, but the individual is king. Like if someone doesn't want to do something, they don't have to. If someone decides to let Americans kind of move into his area, they can. And that's what starts to happen. It's more like a collective bargaining agreement that these Indians are trying to make. And they need everyone to stay strong and not sell. And they can't do it, right? And that's really where the killing begins. So you have all these boats that are coming down the Ohio River filled with immigrants, settlers, people coming to take land, and they start getting raided by Indians fairly quickly. You have all these little houses and settlements that pop up north of the Ohio River. And again, those things start getting raided. And there's counter raids and punches back and forth. And it's really hard to tell if any of this is sanctioned or not. It's almost like it's the Indians will tell the Americans like, hey, we can't control our young men. Very similar to things that we probably heard in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, like, hey, I'm not in charge of these people. Like they do what they want to do. And the Americans could say the same thing. There's no one in Philadelphia, the capital at this time, controlling what these Kentuckians are doing. Like they're going back and they're counter raiding on people who probably aren't even responsible. So it's really starting to become a bloodbath. The Constitution comes in, and now we actually have a means of raising funds and organizing. Washington is elected first president, and this is really when bad violence starts occurring, where they are killing soldiers. In June of 1789, there'll be a patrol sent out on the Wabash, and they'll find a dead American regular. He's been shot twice. He's got 2 arrows sticking out of his back. He's scalped, and he has no genitals. They are missing. So this is some pretty grotesque, pretty brutal stuff that is starting to happen in this area. And Washington is doing everything he can to try to hold the peace. He's writing the governor of this area, the Northwest Territory, as they call it, telling him, like, get control of this. We have to maintain the peace. If we were to go to war with them right now, it wouldn't be just, because a lot of times, like, American colonists, people in Kentucky are going over and starting things. It wouldn't be considered a just war. Washington will give his first State of the Union in 1790. He talks about all the same bullshit that, you know, politicians talk about the State of the Union now. They talk about agriculture, commerce, whatever. But the first thing he talks about is defense. Now, if you're Washington, you could be talking about the British, because the British are still holding forts on American land. In places like Detroit and other areas in Michigan, there are British occupying forts on what's supposed to be American soil. So I would think that would be a problem. You could be talking about the Spanish, who you're always worried about snatching areas outside of Florida, but he's not. He's talking about the Indians. He's really worried in the State of the Union about a possible war breaking out, because he's got other problems. He can't afford a war in this area of this remote area of the country. And to put it in perspective, how bad it's getting, in 1776, there are 1,000 settlers in Kentucky. By the end of that revolution, there's only a couple hundred. But by 1790, in the first census, there's 73,000 people living in Kentucky now. They're spilling over the border into Indian land. Now, he's going to authorize his governor in 1790, St. Clair is the governor of the Northwest Territory, to send an Indian agent over into Ohio to make offer of peace, and it really doesn't go well. They basically run this guy out of town. Some of these weaker tribes will say they have to consult with the stronger tribes, like the Miami and the Shawnee. The Miami and the Shawnee will say, we have to talk to our British father in Fort Detroit. But there will be a chief who's kind of like the acknowledged leader, Blue Jacket. And he basically tells them, as long as there's any settlers north of the Ohio River, there will be no peace. So the hammer finally falls in September of 1790. Well, we have what I call Task Force Harmar will be built and sent off into these Indian lands. 1,400 soldiers will leave Fort Washington, which is now downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, and they'll be intent on destroying these Miami villages and burning all the crops. Now, this is not raids anymore. There can be no question. This is actual war. He will launch this task force into the north, and there will be another task force that comes out of the west in Vincennes, Indiana, and they kind of form a pincer movement up into Indiana and Ohio. Now, this, the one in the west, it will reach a few abandoned villages. It will burn it, come back home. And Harmar's, the larger force striking out of Cincinnati, will reach the capital. It's a huge, sprawling Miami capital of Kekianaga is the name. Bunch of clusters of villages, crops for miles around. It takes them 4 days to burn it all. I don't think we really have a conception of how large an area this was. To take 4 days to burn stuff down is quite a lot. He gets a little cute on his return back home, and he starts splitting his forces, and Indians will consolidate their forces and will basically harry his retreat all the way home. And he ends up losing like 180 guys out of his 1,100 man force that actually makes it up there. 73 of these being regular soldiers, which are kind of hard to come by at this time. He claims victory, but he'll basically be kicked out of the army. They're like, yeah, no, that was not good. The Indians are clearly resolved now, and they start building this confederation again. And after this raid by Harmar, if you thought the raids back and forth, the tit for tat was bad, it gets really, really bad. Indians will start going after any settlement north of the Ohio. In what's now Stockport, Ohio, they'll kill 11 men, 1 woman, and 2 children in what's called the Big Bottom Massacre. In Dunlap Station, which is now Coleraine Township, Ohio, there'll be a group of settlers that live in like this little compound, and the Indians will snatch a surveyor outside of their little compound, bring him into view, and torture and kill him in front of these settlers living in Ohio. It gets to be really bad. Everyone is terrified. Supposedly at this time, Indians will be so bold that they creep into downtown Cincinnati, and literally all these Americans living in this area are terrified, and they demand something to be done. So Washington has to organize another attack, and he picks General St. Clair, that governor, to lead the attack. And it sounds like a smart idea on paper. He is a Revolutionary War vet. Washington knew him very well. He served as an aide to Washington. Probably not the best pick, though, because he's very sick. He's got gout. He's got like this inflammatory arthritis that he's in his mid-50s. Like, people don't.
So he had gout, but still fought a war. I like it.
Yeah.
That I do have to cut you off for a little bit because there are some comments going on here, and looks like we got some. It's
probably
people,
Joel Nolan.
No, Joel Nolan's probably not man enough to show up to this right now. No, but we have some good comments, good feedback coming in, and it reminded me of something. One, here's the first joke, right? I noticed that they said they came up through Ohio and not down through Michigan, because Michigan doesn't win anything. Ain't that right, Joe?
About as much as the school that you root for does. I mean, if not more. Or
all I'm saying is we can get into another battle. I think
if they really wanted to win, they would have got General Saban out of Alabama.
They would have got General Saban out of Alabama, right?
Actually, buddy, you don't know his coaching history. He coached at Michigan State. That's where Alabama got him from, doofus.
Yeah, that's where he got educated. He got educated in the North, buddy. He got educated in the North.
Bear Bryant pictures and Nick Saban's hair, and that's all you know. All right, you haven't looked at shit. Now cut it out.
I'm sorry, Joshua. I'm sorry. I started a football conversation.
No, it's okay,
brother.
brother.
It happens because football is battle. All right, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
And Michigan just hasn't won the battle in 2 fucking decades.
Josh, he's so hooked. He's so hooked on my reactions. He has to have them. He's like tapping the vein. Like, Joe hasn't responded to me today.
Well, you were sitting there playing Candy. You were playing Candy Crush on your phone, so I figured I'd get you active. All right,
at least since you bitched about that too before he started.
At least Buddy's grilling, So, anyways. Hey, one of the comments is, Buddy, what are you grilling?
I'm making bacon for this boy so he can have something for lunch.
I thought he was taking like a 20-minute piss.
The dudes that live in this house, we eat bacon. And then we have bourbon.
Was that Alabama's too? Did they make both of those?
So Kevin said that Joe was a Michigan State fan, but I'll let you handle Kevin later. Anyway, But there was another comment about saying it was genocide. So I'm glad all this history that you're bringing up, but I had to remind the guy that it's like genocide wasn't even a word yet. All right. So genocide didn't become a word until the Nuremberg war trials. And that's why we didn't call what the Nazis did genocide, because that would say what we did to the Indians was genocide. So we had to kind of keep that on the wraps. But hey, I love the information so far. Before you start again, where can they find your podcast that explains all the battles that you talk about?
Yeah, so it's on any wherever you get your podcast. Search Bourbon Battles. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I think Stitcher is one too. Pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, I think I'm listed on there.
All right, you hear that, Trash Talkers in Gruntworks Nation. All right, go on there, subscribe to his podcast, and let's support some more veterans. And these stories are, it's history, so just pay attention, especially you, buddy. All right, so this is probably the first time you got real history taught to you.
I kind of thought we were going to talk about the Battle of Snowshoes for a second, and old Rogers and his Rangers.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. No, we didn't. But I'm sure there's a podcast on it. But so, Josh, we're at the point where he picks a general that has gout and still found a way to fight a war, and he's not from Michigan. So, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's not Nick Saban either, just to clarify. So anyway, they pick their general, and he starts to organize his forces, and it takes forever for all their stuff to come in. A little tidbit for you here. At the end of the revolution, the government actually decided to kind of privatize and start farming out things to contractors, things that we are now still very familiar with in the Army, with our stuff sometimes being made by the lowest bidder. Well, that is a problem for them at the time too. So they start getting all their weapons in. The powder is old. It's been damaged by water. The guns are in horrible repair. Everything, all their tents are leaking. The shoes are too small, just your standard problems. And Washington, the dates start ticking by, and Washington's telling them, like, get a move on. Like, you guys got to hurry up and get up there. They're trying to get up there in the fall of 1791. And they're doing that because they're going to get there, and they have two options. So they really want to build a fort right next to the Miami Capitol at Kekianaga, where they just got done burning it all. And it's just their idea being to overawe these Indians, to kind of separate them from the British and like, hey, we're in charge now. Or they have the option of burning these crops again. And if you burn the crops late enough in the season, we don't get this now because we all live our nice, cushy suburban lifestyles, but you burn those crops late enough in the season, you don't have time to replant. Like, you're going hungry that winter. It's going to be bad for you. And these Indians are having to go to the British and ask for handouts every time the Americans come in and burn their crops because they're starving. It is a crisis. So that's what they want to do. And then he finally gets a move on in September of 1791. He's got about 1,400 troops, right? So he's got 2 regiments of regulars, which are pretty solid troops, the first and the second. He's got 2 regiments of levy militia. These are like, think about National Guard, but on the federal level. These are troops that are called out from states like the National Guard would, but they're supplied by the federal government. And then they have some militia, like true states militia, that kind of just men that have been rounded up from Kentucky. They have a company of dragoons, mounted infantry, and then they have a battalion of artillery with them, right? And their idea, like I said, is to move up there and build this fort. Well, supply is everything here. It's like going to NTC and JRTC. What stresses you out there? Like, you can actually do good fighting there. Good units go there and they whip Geronimo sometimes. But what actually stresses units is the logistics of moving equipment, fuel, food around the battlefield. And that's their problem too. So they're going up into true wilderness in Southwest Ohio, and they're building roads. They're literally building the roads as they go along, a 2-lane road in 2 separate columns moving all the way north, right? And so to maintain that tenuous supply line, they're going to have to start building forts along the way. So they start moving north, and it's very, very slow. They are creeping north, and they're like a couple weeks into it, and they get to their first fort, Fort Jefferson, or Fort Alexander, Fort Alexander Hamilton. And they get there, and it's been 2 weeks, and they're only 20 miles away. They have a horrible rate of march. It's just so slow. They're dragging all these cannons along these roads, are having to hack these roads out of the woods. On top of that, they have camp followers, which is not a thing anymore. But think about bringing your wife to JRTC or NTC or overseas, wife and kids, cooks, all kinds of people who don't necessarily belong in the Army, and it's going to slow it down. So they continue moving, and the weather gets worse and worse. It starts to get fall, it starts to get cold, then it'll get hot again. they start seeing signs of Indians as they move forward. They'll find small little cabins with like literally deer still roasting on the fire. And it when you read about it, you get this creepy sensation like these guys are being watched. They're being followed. The Indians know exactly where they are. They're a huge army. And of course it's correct. They start having bad desertions. Like I'm not talking about 1 or 2 guys. I'm talking like 20 people will get behind a sergeant and just leave in the middle of the night, running back to Cincinnati. People are having very bad feelings about this expedition. They're running out of food. People, soldiers will get caught by Indians in the middle of the night and be killed. So literally they'll wake up, they'll find horses gone, they'll find soldiers missing, soldiers dead. And it's just not a great feeling. So around this time, after they reach their second Fort Jefferson, St. Clair, the general, the guy in charge, the guy with the gout, goes all the way back.
General Gout.
General Gout. He goes all the way back to Cincinnati to organize the militia, which is, you know, as an officer, you kind of learn how best to center yourself. Where can you best be to help your unit? And I don't think back in Cincinnati is a great place.
I gotta stop you. You
From
go
what
where
I've seen, it's usually
you go. The officer goes. The officer goes where we tell them to go. Okay. So you find the E8. The E8 goes, no, sir. You're gonna be right there. Okay. That's where the fuck you're going. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, General Gout didn't have a big Earl E8 to tell him where to go. So he goes back to Cincinnati and he leaves his second in command, Butler, in charge to keep going. Butler is also a Revolutionary War soldier, so he's very experienced. And at one point, Butler's like, all right, we're done with this cutting 2 roads bullshit. We're going to move down to 1 road and we're just going to march up there. It's going to make it a lot faster. Well, by the time that St. Clair returns, he sees what they've been doing. He's coming back up these 2 roads and now it's just 1 road. He gets there and he finds Butler and dresses him down in front of the entire army. Like this is like when you see the battalion commander and command sergeant major yelling at each other in front of everyone. It's just whoa. And he's screaming at him for moving to 1 road, for disobeying his orders. And after that happens, Butler is not going to talk to St. Clair, the leader, the General Gout. He's just going to quit talking to him, and it's going to have very disastrous consequences here. So they leave that last fort, Fort Jefferson, and the day they leave it, they have a public hanging. They hang 2 soldiers for trying to desert. They hang another one for killing another one. Like tensions are high. Like this is.
Did they say what kind of dessert it was? Was it like pie or was it something? Was it something else?
Was it pecan, Alabama pecan pie?
If it was pecan pie, I'd probably get hung for that dessert too. I would. Yeah. It's good. It's really good. You should try it, guys. It's rich.
It's probably a big bowl of buddy. It's almost like when General Bragg had the Irish conscripts down in Pensacola, and the conscripts wouldn't fight because they seized the boat of molasses and went and made whiskey instead. So yeah, we got to talk about what kind of dessert you're talking about here.
Yeah. The deserting kind of desertion. That's my fault. I don't know how to talk half the time, and then I start drinking whiskey on an empty stomach in the morning. Yeah, I'm from Texas. You know, it's a thing. We're barely qualified to speak English here.
Oh, hey, buddy, show that truly one more time.
Hold the fuck on. Hold on.
Show the fucking truly one more time.
Is the guy from Texas talking about Sweet Home Alabama? Was it? No, he didn't. How is Eastern California these days? Get off of me. You're going to talk about Alabama. Y'all can't even control Austin. Get out of here. And
it's wonderful.
It's a mango lemonade truly too. I don't give a damn what you think.
It's wonderful, buddy. 2. I listen to Sweet Home Alabama from my Tesla. It's great.
Song's racist.
Yeah. So where were we? Oh yeah, we were on desserts, right? They were getting hung for eating desserts. This is quickly falling apart. I got to get to the battle, guys.
To the battle.
I was trying to provide background. I was an officer.
We're enlisted. It's like Kevin says on the thread. Can you put this in a PowerPoint for us?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I will try to do that. Anyway, so they continue moving out of this Fort Jefferson. They're getting very close to the Miami Capitol. Horses are starting to die. Men are sick.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt, but did you say Fort Jefferson? They moved out of Fort Jefferson?
Yeah.
Did they move on up? Possibly to the
From
east
the
side?
east side or the west side
the
of
east
it?
side,
Were they-
yeah.
To the east side? To a deluxe? Was it a deluxe apartment?
Yeah, it was, buddy.
This guy? Okay, sorry.
No,
That truly's got them all fired up.
yeah, I know. You got to quit giving him Trulies in the morning. Oh man. But they move out of this Fort Jefferson to their deluxe apartment, and St. Clair's in a wagon. He's not leading the army. He's got full general gout. He's laid up in this wagon. He has to reduce rations to half rations, which, if you're wondering, is a half a pound of flour, which is about 800 calories worth of your daily allotment. Kicks out a lot of these camp followers. Desertions are continuing to rise, and finally they run out of flour. Like, they have some cattle that they're moving along, but they run out of food. And that night they have 60 militia desert. They leave, they run away, they go back home to Cincinnati. And this is the largest by far. So St. Clair's got a problem. His problem is he's run out of food. He knows he has a supply wagon coming up this road. He runs out of food, and he knows he cannot miss one supply wagon. 60 men that just leave are enough to overwhelm it and take it. And that's what he's worried about. He's worried about this food not making it to him. So he sends that first regiment of regulars, the soldiers he knows he can depend on, 300 men back down the road to chase these militiamen and to ensure that this food makes it through. Now, a couple days later, they make it 9 miles, which is one of their farthest in their day's march. And it completely wears them out. They get to this point, and the weather's horrible. The men are exhausted. They've made it about 90 miles from their start point. It takes them 2 months to do that in what takes you in a car about 2 hours today. These men fall asleep onto what will become the battlefield the next morning. And they do no EA dev, no TLPs, none of that priority work stuff. These guys are exhausted. They basically just fall where they end up and go to sleep and rack out. They build these huge fires. And this battlefield, it is a bluff, right? So roughly to think about it, if you hold up, you got an L of your finger, right? L. So your long finger here is the river, the Wabash River. And your thumb here is a small creek called Buck Run. In the crook of this L is the bluff that they camp on, right? And basically a long, okay, now we're doing gang signs. Basically in a long rectangular shaped area, they camp on this bluff. Well, St. Clair, the one thing he does do, he puts pickets out on the other side of this river. He sends the militia out there, about 300 guys, a couple hundred yards across that river. And these guys just kind of collapse too. Well, what they don't know, in the middle of the night, about 1,000 Indians, which is roughly about how many men they have, are moving in around them, mainly behind 3 leaders, the Miami Little Turtle, the Shawnee leader, Blue Jacket, and the Delaware leader, Bahonga Helis. And these 3 guys...
I was in a gay porn called Blue Jacket.
Did the girls never come?
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. It's a big girl for you. So these Indians are moving in almost a crescent moon shape to envelop these Americans on this bluff here. And all throughout the night, it would have drove NCOs crazy. Soldiers are shooting into the dark all throughout that night, waking everyone up. And they're saying, I see Indians out there. I see movement. There's something out there. And that's not unusual. There's a lot of Indies back in the day. These guns go off all the time. It would have drove y'all nuts. So finally, it gets so bad that second command, General Butler, sends out a captain and 20 guys like, hey, go out there and see what they're shooting at. Like, go just see if there's anything there. So he sends this captain out. And this captain, it's completely dark, but there's enough light to see there is a shit ton of Indians around them. Enough that they turn around and just run back into the camp as fast as they can. And they report into General Butler. He sees them there, and he's warming himself by the fire. And he's like, hey, General, sir, there are a lot of Indians out there. Like, I couldn't even count how many. They're all around us. Should I go tell St. Clair? And I don't know what it was. I don't know if Butler just didn't believe him, if he just didn't want to deal with St. Clair. But General Butler tells him, like, no, go get some sleep, man. Doesn't alert St. Clair, never hears about it. Well, as the dawn cracks on the morning of 4 November, they start to hear things coming out of the woods. A lot of these men have never fought Indians before. They don't know what it is. It's the Indian war cry. And don't think of it as like the, the barbarians when they come out in like a movie about Rome and they come out there and scream. It's like a yip, a howl. Like these guys think it's wolves.
We're gonna need a demonstration.
I don't know if I can. I don't even know what it sounds like. No one knows.
Yeah.
Maybe something like a woo, something like that.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
But we really have no idea what it sounds like. I would leave that up to one of those tribes today to fill us in. But it scares the hell out of these guys, and they don't know what it is. They start to wake up, and that militia unit that's on the far side of the river, they just get overwhelmed. They can't even fire a shot off. These guys come out of the darkness with tomahawks and clubs and rifles and
hockey
pistols.
sticks.
Yeah, just overwhelm and crush this militia unit. There's a man there in this militia unit named Samuel Wells, and what he doesn't know is one of the Indians coming out of the forest attacking him is his long lost brother, who was taken by Indians and raised as an Indian. His brother William Wells. Just completely, they overwhelm this unit, and he's lucky enough that he gets away. They push into the American lines. They cross the river. You got to imagine these guys scrambling up the banks of this bluff to get back to the main American lines with the Indians hot on their heels. So the Americans have some things going for them. They have a little bit of early warning here, and they also have artillery. Remember, they have some cannons, but they're going to run into a very much a trigonometry problem here. So these cannons are up on the bluff, right? They don't really aim down. They can a little bit, but not really. And this is called dead space, kids. I think you all know about this.
Right. So for those of you watching, thanks for watching, still sticking around. But EA Dev is engagement area development, so that is very important.
It's in the game.
Sure your dead space is covered. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, they can't do it with their most casually producing weapon, which are these cannons. They can't get any of this scatter shot into these Indians. They've went back and they found where these cannon balls have landed far away from the battlefield. They basically cause no effect. That William Wells character climbs up the bank of this encampment with a bunch of sharpshooters, and these cannoneers are still out there very much exposed on the edge of this escarpment, and they kill all the artillery officers. The men that are left basically have to spike their guns. They take their bayonets and they break them off into the tips of these cannons to render them useless, and they basically just abandon them. So very quickly, the Indians move to the right and move to the left, and they envelop this whole encampment. And St. Clair comes out of his tent to all this. He gets on his horse like a general should. He gets shot out from under him. He gets on another horse, shot out from under him again. He may not be a tactically brilliant person, but he's not a coward. He goes off on foot. Remember, this guy's got gout. He was in a wagon a few days ago. General Gout. He starts trying to lead the men in this battle, and he says it's all around, just firing all around. So the Americans do the thing that they think will push these Indians away, and that is bayonet charges. So detachments around this encampment will form up, they'll fix bayonets, and they'll push down this hill. And the Indians will just shoot at them and then melt away into the forest. And Americans at some point just find themselves out in the middle of it, decide to turn around and go back to camp. And the Indians just retake their positions, kill any Americans that are wounded, shoot them in the back. And that happens over the course of several hours. Finally, the Indians make it through into the camp, and it's chaos. Now, to their credit, that's usually when the unit breaks, right? You have enemy in your rear. These Americans, they don't.
Yeah, Buddy knows all about that. So go ahead. No, it's fine. Sorry.
It's usually when they break.
Definitely
they
a
don't.
thing. You gotta worry about it. Enemy.
I've never seen anyone change camera angles so much as Buddy. He's all over the place. He was in a field earlier.
Wild card. Yeah.
You just never know what you're going to get.
That's as still as he's been for any of our shows, believe it or not, Josh.
He's a true box.
He's usually doing 70 down the road.
Maybe he was the one who pulled the gun on you.
Truth.
You ever think about
Fact.
that?
Negative. This guy's neck was thinner than a toothpick.
No, if I'd have pulled
I will
the gun,
give Buddy one thing. He's respectably thick.
Yeah, I pull a gun for one reason and one reason only.
Shoot it.
And that's to see how fast I can empty it.
That's in the intro. See how quick that ammunition's in there for a reason. Shoot it.
Yeah, and I got plenty of it. There's plenty of buddies back there follow them around.
Well,
okay, we're at General Gout. He's no pussy. Let's go. What we got?
Yeah. So they managed to push the Indians out of the center of their camp, and the center of this camp is just chaos. There's wounded being collected there. That's your casualty collection point. There's men that sneak away from the battle lines to go eat the officers' rations in their tents. They find men just sitting by the fire, just like kind of just wide-eyed, just staring off into space as this battle is going on around them.
They were all E-Force that just went off and were like, dude, we're smoking and eating.
They're getting yelled at, not by Big Earl and other E8s. They get yelled at by what remains of the camp followers. These women, these wives.
The Dependas?
Start screaming at these men because
you
they
got
see...
it now. The Dependas are there. Look, my husband is a colonel. You get out there.
Get your ass out there and fight.
I know you're not sitting by this fire and not saluting me right now. You better get the fuck up, son. I didn't marry a fucking lieutenant and stay with him until he was a colonel so that you could not show me some goddamn respect.
Anyway, okay, I'm done. Good.
That's a very accurate version of probably what happened. Like
I was gonna say that was loosely based on the truth. There wasn't. That's what happened.
I mean, seriously, they're screaming at these guys who are just kicking it by the fire. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, because they know if this army fails, they're not in a good place, right? So about 9:30, it's been about 4 hours after the battle started. Just more Americans. Casualties are stacking up in the center, and these Indians are not giving up. They haven't retreated. They haven't scared them, hadn't made them leave the battlefield. St. Clair makes the only logical choice that he has left. He gathers what's left of the dragoons, the horses, what combat available infantrymen he can, and he does another bayonet charge. Again, the Indians think they're just coming down the hill, and they move out of the way, and as soon as these men see that the way is clear, they take off back to Fort Jefferson. They just run away, leaving their comrades, leaving anyone who's wounded, leaving General Butler, who gets wounded twice, trying to fight off this attack with a loaded pistol. They just left them all. And it's so bad, guys will be throwing equipment, dropping muskets, everything and anything to get back to Fort Jefferson. There's a story of a soldier picking up a child. There was a small baby that this woman was having trouble carrying, grabs this child and takes off running with it, hands it back to the woman. The woman drops the child and takes off and leaves it. You
can always have another one.
Probably true. These, as bad as this battlefield is, the Indians had a strong tradition of taking, especially young children, and just raising them as their own. There are a ton of white Indians that are living in this area at the time, of people that have just been raised and adopted into the family. So that's what happens to this baby. There is a story of a man that comes across one of his comrades with a broken thigh, and this guy's hobbling along this road. He picks him up, throws him over his shoulder, and the Indians are like gaining on him. And he's like, hey man, I got to drop you. And the guy's like, no. And he gets a death grip on him. And this guy has to pull out his knife and cut this guy's fingers just so he'll get off his back. Guy falls off and is like immediately tomahawked. That's how close these Indians are on their heels. And they run back to Fort Jefferson, like 20 miles. The regiment that was sent back after those militia, you remember, to secure the supply wagon, they hear all this cannon fire, all this musket fire, and they start moving back towards the battlefield. And they run into these just rabble of a defeated army, just wild-eyed, not listening to anything. And the commander of that regiment will make the decision after hearing how bad it is not to move forward and try to help. Like, they're still a few miles away. He's like, we're just going to secure the survivors. They moved back to Fort Jefferson. It had taken this army about 3-ish months to move all the way from Cincinnati up into southwestern Ohio, where this battlefield happened. And it takes them 4 days to get back to Cincinnati. They are hauling ass. They're running away as fast as they can. They get back there. There's no discipline left. They start drinking this place dry. And the Indians under Little Turtle and Blue Jacket and Bacongahelas have won a great victory. This is the worst defeat in U.S. military history. No one knows about it. It is by far the worst defeat ever put upon the American military by the Indians in any of the Indian wars. We like to think of Little Bighorn being the worst. That's a classic one with Custer. This was way worse. Possibly like a quarter of the entire U.S. Army, what was then the U.S. Army, is destroyed at this battle. It is a horrible defeat. Very embarrassing for the Americans, very embarrassing for Washington. A couple things come out of this battle that we still live with today. So there will be the first congressional inquiry, like House investigation ever. Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Is Stand 2 one of them? Is that where we got Stand 2? Is that why I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go watch?
Yes, and you have to shave. You have to get up at 4 so you could shave before Stand 2.
So I can watch for Indians?
Yeah.
Something about the French and Indians attack at dawn, or
idiots. Oh,
yeah. Stand 2 is why you have to get up in the morning and try to shave your face when it's still dark. But the first congressional investigation will happen over this, and they'll demand Washington's like personal papers to help them investigate. And Washington will be like, there'll be a debate within his cabinet, and they'll say, we'll release the papers that help the public good, but we're not going to release the papers that hurt the public good. And this is the basis of what we now know as executive privilege. That's what it turns into. The right of basically the executive to tell Congress to go F themselves. I'm not going to disclose this information. This is our privilege. The Congress will reform. The Congress will reform and have a couple of militia acts that they introduce. These acts are improved over time, and they basically become the basis of the modern National Guard we get from this battle. It also finally settles the debate in Congress on whether we should have a standing army. A lot of these people, a lot of these founding fathers are very hesitant about having a standing army, and thinks that, a standing army basically snuffs out liberty, and we're big fans of just militia. Well, this settles the debate. They actually authorize a standing army. They reform it and name it the Legion of the United States. About 5,000 men. They organize it like a modern brigade combat team almost. It's got like the units of artillery and cavalry.
Funny story. The Legion of the United States is now in Fort Campbell. Just to tell you.
No, they're not.
Yeah, it is. Called Fifth
No, it's
Special
not.
Forces
No, it's
Group.
not.
Not a
No,
huge
it's not.
deal.
It's not
Legion
Fifth
of
Group.
the United States. We
No.
just took it back. We're taking it back.
We're taking it back.
I like it.
Oh, there's a kid there now. But organize this army. The leader of this army will be General Anthony Mad Anthony Wayne, a respected Revolutionary War hero, and he'll basically only accept command when he tells Washington that, hey, I'll take the job, but you're not going to tell me when I leave. You're not going to tell me when I'm ready. I will tell you when we're ready, and then we'll go back out there and try to fight again. Telling Washington that. And those terms will be accepted. He'll lead.
Yeah, well, a real leader would accept those terms.
He leads this. He leads this Legion of the United States back up into the same area, back to that Miami capital, Kekianaga, They fight a battle near Toledo, Ohio, called the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and the Americans win. The Indians rush towards a nearby British fort, and the British lock the doors on them. And when they do that, essentially the Indian Confederation just dissolves. They don't have the British backing them anymore. And General Wayne builds a fort right where the capital is, what they wanted to do. It's still there, and they call it Fort Wayne, Indiana.
What general was that?
Mad
General
Anthony
Wayne?
Wayne. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got a relative. They call him Little Wayne. He's a rapper now.
And another one called John Wayne. They're all related, I think.
Yeah.
John Wayne is not related to him.
You just triggered. You got to be careful.
Don't
If you tell a special forces guy and you make fun of John Wayne,
Don't you run your Texas mouth about Johnny Wayne.
We'll fight now.
Oh man. Oh, uppercuts all day, Alabama. But that's essentially how this campaign ends. The Americans now officially make their presence known in this territory. They signed the Treaty of Greenville, which they basically take 2/3 of Ohio. The British give back the forts that they promised to give back at the end of the Revolution, and we kind of fully assert the dominance over this area. But it's not over and done with. It's very much like a World War I, World War II kind of scenario where all in the ranks of these Indians and the Americans are the next generation. And it's not settled at all. They're going to come back and they're going to fight each other again. And the Indians are going to try one more time to retain their land and fight the Americans off. And that's going to be my next episode of Bourbon and Battles.
Nice. Hey, so Bourbon and Battles, Gruntworks and Trash Talk Nation. Go subscribe to Bourbon and Battles on all major podcast platforms. Hey, we appreciate it, Josh, having you on the show. But as we do in the military, let's do a back brief. Let's know what we learned today. Okay, so what did we learn today? All right, we learned that 5th Group has taken the Legion of the United States Army. So now we will now call 5th Group the Legion. All right, I think Buddy has just coined that. We also learned that Michigan still
5th Group is already it's already the Legion.
I've learned that Josh can read an exorbitant amount without stopping. That was incredible.
Right.
How did
I don't think he read that. I don't think he read that. I think he knew the whole thing.
I don't think he read that either, Joe. I think
that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you?
I think us enlisted swine think that officers read the stuff, but they don't.
That's a Rain Man like memory that you just. If you just did that all off hip, that was pretty impressive, man.
We also learned that. Well, some of us knew this already, but Michigan doesn't win anything, so you do Ohio. We learned that, so that's a good point to take away. Sustain, and then
it'll be revisited. It'll be revisited soon. Something you like to make often.
Yeah, there was a battle for Toledo between two states, and one of those won it. I don't remember which one, but I think it was.
Turns out the right state won because I wouldn't stop to take a shit in Toledo.
Right, and
JS.
We have a guy on the thread that we have to talk about. I got to find the comment again. This guy's really awesome. He said, "I bet you all are mechanics." So he doesn't know how to spell mechanics. Oh, it's Galen Norton. Hey, thanks for that comment, Galen. Yes, you are right. We were all 88 mics. I am currently an 88 mic. Buddy is an 88 mic as well. Joe is a retired 88 mic. That's a truck driver, but doesn't really matter. But that's what we are. So if that's why we don't have any fucking idea what we're talking about.
If that fits your narrative, bud, you have at it. Sure, I'm an 88 mic.
But hey, go to our website, veterantrashtalk.com, and you can read about who we are. That's fine. We lied about it because we're not going to say we're mechanics. I mean, fuck, dude, we're going to lie and say we're like Rangers and shit. I mean, we might even lie and say we're Green Berets. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, Valor
my ass.
Valor doesn't mean shit if you don't steal it. You know what I mean? You got to
take that shit. You got to fucking earn it, right? You gotta
yeah.
We also learned that gout isn't that big of a deal. So if you have gout, you can still fight. You can still fight a war. Okay, you can still be a general. So out of all he said, that's what we got. Gout is not that bad. Michigan sucks at football. 5th Group is now the Legion, and
we're already the Legion. We were already.
And we're all mechanics. We're all
I just didn't
mechanics.
say that.
So I like it. Hey, you know what? I'm going to put whatever spin on it I want, buddy. Okay. So you could say that you are the Legion. I'm
Have
saying
that
you just,
phone.
I'm just saying you just took it. So, hey, go subscribe to Joshua Coffman's Bourbon and Battles.
have it.
Go subscribe. I know that I'm going to do that. And because I'm kind of a history guy. And another main thing we learned, the most
Hey, I need you
important
to help
thing.
me with this.
Hey, put your mic on mute before you yell at your kid again. You're going to look like an asshole to
my
everybody
bad.
again.
Beating your
Yeah.
kids, buddy.
So, yeah.
Hey, some of us have to sell a house. So
Yeah.
we're trying to move stuff at the same time we do.
Well, that's
shows.
good for some of
Hey,
you.
hey, buddy, it's a seller's market, so just sell the house. Anyways,
And if this kid comes back in here and tells me one more time that the lawnmower is on fire, come on, bro, just drive faster.
yeah. So again, the most important thing we learned, I don't think Bill's still watching because he's probably drunk and passed out by now. But Bill, the biggest thing we learned about this was that artillery is worthless. Okay, they suck. They ruined the fight. The worst defeat in American history was because of some artillery guy, probably a fister, probably a forward observer who didn't realize that he wasn't covering dead space. Okay, so that's what we learned today. All right. Anyways, we will see you next Friday for UFC Pick'em, and then we will also see you on Saturday for the Veteran Trash Talk Hour. Remember, send us what you got. If you have a business, we promote it for free. That's what we do. All right. We were helping veterans. You know, we're building veterans. All right. And then we as a community are the only ones that are going to make us stronger. So we did originally start, and we're still on the mission of lowering the veteran suicide rate. And we're only going to do that if we fight the demons together. All right. So if you have a demon, bring it out. Bring it out. We'll talk about it. All right. And again, our shout out to our sponsors, Ventura Training Athletics, 10th Mountain Bourbon, Zach Farkas, and Nero Flow. All right. Thanks for all you guys do to help us out, run our show, and all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next week, guys. Love you guys.
Where do we turn to veteran trash talk? Where do we turn to veteran trash talk? Where do we turn to veteran trash talk? Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. That's what we do in veteran trash talk. That's what we do in veteran trash talk. That's what we do in veteran trash talk. Bravely every morning.